to the broken party.
Hello and welcome to the FITz and Healthy podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lauren Fitzgerald, and today I have a really special guest that I'm excited to introduce you guys. So Isabelle Daikeler, some of you may know who she is, and others of you that are not in the whole coaching world might be like, I have no clue who she is. But regardless who you are, this woman is full of amazing information, and she's actually really funny too. We just had a conversation beforehand, and she made me laugh out loud, like legit laugh out loud quite a few times. But we are going to discover, we're just going to basically dive into health and the different levels of it. The real original reason that I reached out to her was because she's the co-creator of one of the things that you guys know that I'm passionate about called Shakeology. It's not a protein shake. It's your daily dose of dense nutrition. And as cheesy as that tagline sounds, it really is. It's replaced all of my supplements that I used to take before I even knew what the Beachbody world was about. And I got very interested once I started to dive deep into what goes into formulating this thing that we called Shakeology and superfoods. And you guys know that I interviewed Darren O'Lean a few weeks ago. And it's cool because I sent her the interview and she's like, okay, good. This means that we can delve into a bunch of cool stuff. So Isabelle Daikeler, thank you so much for being a part of the FITz and Healthy podcast today. I'm really excited to get going on our talk.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled too. And I really enjoyed our pre-shot talk.
Me too.
Yeah. And I am excited. I'm excited to talk about whatever Shakeology or maybe a little of my history for all the people that don't know me. And then let's dive into all the other aspects of health and well-being, which is really exciting. So start with what you think you need them to know about me to sort of give them an understanding.
Absolutely. And I want to make sure that the listener knows that this is not a podcast to get people to be pro Beachbody. This is just an educational, we will talk a little bit about Shakeology, but I just want to make sure that there's some listeners that might cut it off if they didn't hear that. So I just want to introduce the fact that you might be the wife of the CEO of Beachbody, but you have so much to offer about health and food and well-being. And so we're going to dive into that. And I do think that your story, you basically regaining your health is very important. I know that some of the people in our network know your story, but for the people that don't, let's start there.
Yes. And there's so much that even the people in a network don't know because, I should look at you guys, not you.
That's okay.
It's very pleasant. So I want to give you a bigger picture because if we do have the kind of talk I'm hoping and thinking we're going to have, I think this will help you place me in those stories.
Yes.
So I was a track and field coach. I was a kinesiology degree, sport nutrition, sports psychology. Back in my days, I did 8 years of intense ballet classes. I thought I was going to be a dancer way back then. So I was very athletic. Never really ate chips or Twinkies or drank Coke. This was not really part of my growing up years at all. Not that it was healthy food, but it was not that crazy sort of binging on wild non-food food.
Right.
And so what happened is, and also most people don't know that, but back home, my whole family is in the film industry. So I had a TV show when I was a kid.
No way.
Yeah. And I came here to shoot something, but fell in love with sport because I was always quite athletic.
Right.
And I applied to UCLA and it changed my whole life. But in my early 20s, I had a car crash. That was my first story that I never really talk about on the Beachbody platform. I had a car crash and it took me 2 years to rehabilitate myself to walking again. And then not long after that, I started having autoimmune disease. We didn't have names back in those days, but it was fibromyalgia, chondromalacia. It was all sort of no name. What the heck is this about? Doctors didn't know what to do about it.
They thought you were full of crap because they couldn't nail it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's right. Chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yes.
So I got to a place in my life where I couldn't open the door of my place. I couldn't walk that little step. And I collapsed and I was crying there for at least an hour, crawled inside. And that was the end of a year and a half or so of going from doctor to doctor to doctors, trying to figure out what was wrong with me. Inability to pay my rent, to pay my bills from the hospital, by the way, or the school. Couldn't continue my education. I really thought I was going to end up in the streets, scared out of my mind, broke. And I ended up at that point realizing I've got to change my frame of mind. I've got to look at what other cultures do about their well-being. How do they handle their health? And this is when I turned around and started exploring alternative medicine, Eastern medicine from India, from China, from Japan. I really went deep in all these areas. Went to Chinatown, Koreatown here in LA. Wonderful soul, 50, 67-year-old doctors gave me roots, flowers, plants. I would go back to my box, my little place, and I would cook concoction that stank. And I did that for months, drank them, and lo and behold, starting to feel better. That's after, almost 2 years of nobody could help me and getting worse and worse.
And no prescription medicine, just for the record.
Right. And I would say no, because they didn't know. They would not know, and they would prescribe because they didn't know. And they were mostly looking at my depression. And I was depressed because I was sick, full of pain, confusion, broke. Yes, I was depressed. Made total sense.
Completely.
Yes. So these guys, this is where I also learned about mushrooms, adaptogen herbs, also the quality of things. I knew if I went to a certain market, things would be working better for me than if I bought things from that other market. Started realizing that ashwagandha is not just ashwagandha. Depending on who I got it from, it worked or it didn't do anything. It was always raw. It was always whole. Explored different way of eating and got myself back on track. Changed my mind. Started creating shakes like drinks for all my clients because it became part of my life. Right. So then part of my work changed because I started doing it for every single person I work with. Water.
Yep.
And then I moved on, and this is something I really want to talk about later, Lauren.
Okay.
I moved on to sort of being righteous. So then you think you know it all.
Yes.
And I did every single kind of fast you can possibly think about. I even do water fast for a month. Okay. I did coconut fast for a month and a half. I did only the fruit. I did the lemon pepper thingy. I did everything, colonics, macrobiotic. I was vegetarian almost for 30 years and most of the years vegan. And I was sure that was the way to go. I was very righteous and dogmatic. Right. So the beautiful thing about me, if I was to write a book, I would call it The Gift of Being Extraordinary, because I pretty much created every little oops moment in my life you can possibly create. I made a zillion what you would call mistakes. Yep. And I'm thinking much more about my frame of mind. So I explored the world of fast, of different kind of way of eating, including intermittent fasting, which is not new. It's just back on the media now. Exactly. Keto was part of that. Paleo was part of that, but it was not advertised the same way that it is now with all our tools. Right. So I've done that, right? I'm watching things go round and around, just like makeup and outfits, right?
Absolutely.
Ooh, dark lips. Ooh, nude lips.
Yep.
Ooh, it's like puffy hair, short hair. It just never ends. It just comes back and comes back. And I'm old enough now to sort of watch that come back and do its round with more money and more PR behind it. Right. I was one of the first one that went to farms and filmed animal being tortured or not well treated, where back in those days it was conspiracy theory. Right. When I talked about GMO with the groups of people, we were crazy people. Now everybody knows it. So I've been there, done that as well, right? Right. What it taught me, though, is that who am I to think that whatever works for me needs to work for everybody? Who am I to make someone feel bad about eating animal because I think it's the right way to go? I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I couldn't care less about starting to decipher what's wrong and right for everybody in the world. But
Right.
what I did learn is that I lost the drive to dictate what is wrong and right for a human being and to judge them as being less than because of their choices.
Mm.
I dislike that because I see the wrong of it for me in my life. And I see it all the time in more and more minute way. And
Yeah.
I see that destroying our lives in terms of our well-being and our health. Major place where we disempower ourselves by disempowering others. So every time you need to disempower another, there's an aspect of you who's insecure, who doesn't feel like she fits in, he fits in good enough. And therefore, it's easier to find the wrong out there. Now, am I saying that there's not a crap load of work to do in the way that we treat animals? No, not at all. I totally agree. Again, I was vegan most of my life.
Right.
It was a shock to me that I had to start eating meat. Every nutritionist that I would see would say, you're doing it right. As far as we know, you have all that you need to have in your diet, the sprouts and all that stuff, right? The raw, I did the raw for 2 years, got myself ill, wasn't right for me, right for others, not for me.
Right.
And then I got a blood test and I realized when I started eating meat, which was really hard for me because I don't like the taste. I didn't do it for right or wrong. Initially, I started because I never liked the taste of meat. So it
Right.
was really hard. I started with 1 bite a day and slowly build. And of course, I got my blood test, and oh my God, markers that were terrible for years, I'm talking decades, end up being right. So here I am, Mrs. Vegan,
Wow.
right? Mrs. I'm vegan. I have a halo above my head.
Yep.
So I start eating meat despite my desire to do that,
Right.
not do that, and it got me better
Mm.
because I was having challenges. I
Mhm.
would never have thought I would do that, and yet it's helping me a great deal. So once again, my ego was shut, and I learned a great lesson.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that we don't have the problem that we have in the world because we are so out of balance. But you look at the American Indian, they did eat meat. They
Right.
believed it. They
Right.
didn't overdo it. If you go to places in Korea, in Chinatown, they heal with every body part of an animal. But if you go to other area, they tell you you will die if you need animal. That it's terrible for you. If you go into the spiritual aspect of our society, many will tell you that you cannot be enlightened if you eat meat. It keeps your vibration low.
Right.
But if you go to India, they'll tell you that dairy is very good for you, and they use dairy in a healing modality.
Right.
But we are being told that dairy is terrible. Of course, we're talking about healthy milk if
Of course. If
we
there
had
was
access to
such a
that.
thing.
Yes. So you see how no matter where you go in the world, even the great masters will end up having different modality, different protocol that you may be raised thinking is terrible for you.
Right.
So this is something to me that I think take a deep
Yes.
breath. You don't know everything, and
No.
you have no right to judge another, and you
Mm-mm.
definitely do not know their bodies, their emotional, spiritual, mental bodies. You
Mm.
cannot tell them what they need to do. And what you eat, what you wear, what you talk about, that does not make you better.
Mm-mm.
There's no better.
Mm-mm.
And I see that more and more everywhere on all platforms, even with really great people, where I read a book and I said it might be great information, but it makes me feel like shit if
Right.
I still want to eat meat.
Right.
So like there's something there on a on a deeper, I don't want to say higher because it gives it hierarchy,
Right.
on a deeper aspect where it's the fundamental of being at peace with oneself and at peace with the world. Because if you're busy judging yourself on all the things that you should and should not do, and you're busy telling others all the things they should and should not do, you are not in balance and you are not in peace. And even science now is starting to prove that being at peace with oneself is the beginning of health. It helps inflammation, which is the big guy that everybody talks about. It helps your microbiome. When I used to say that 10 years ago, everybody rolled their eyes. Here she goes again with her conspiracy, almighty spiritual theory.
Right.
Science is proving that now.
Yep.
So this is huge, Lauren. And what's your thought on all that?
No, I totally agree. And it's so funny because I grew up in Texas, and people like you, I definitely heard being called tree huggers and hippies and all of the different stereotypes that come along with it. But in reality, if you look at it, those people have the aura of happiness and just complete like inner peace. And when you see these people that are know-it-alls and the ego gets in the way, oftentimes just the energy that they give off is nothing but negativity. And I think that I always talk about when I'm talking with clients or my team, that everything starts right here in our thoughts and goes from there. But the ego, and I've been there plenty. I've actually right.
We all are.
Yes. I used to be that stereotypical Western medicine MD that thought that the naturopaths and chiropractors were quacks, and people like you were like, oh goodness, I got one of those patients. And now I'm so grateful when I have someone that is like you, that is open to the fact that, man, the different levels of health have so much more to do than anything that we had any clue about, and definitely not taught in med school.
And I was just telling you before we started taping how a lot of people that helped me later on in my life were MD that also introduced and took in alternative way of dealing with health too. It's fantastic because you have such a wide perspective, and I love that, because I think it brings peace, and it brings these two sides together.
Absolutely.
Which the separation of these two sides to me is deadly.
It
Now
is.
I'm not saying go and have a party with pharmaceutical,
No, please don't.
and stuff. But I got to tell you, man, when I had melanoma and it almost crossed the barrier, I had 4. It almost was. I happy that I had a real doctor
Absolutely.
able to do his job in a way that it saved me. I've had so many episodes like that in my life that I can't vilify. I can't vilify anymore.
No.
I can't. It doesn't feel right to think that I know more.
Right.
And so you know what you know as you know it and as you progress. And um, and this is something that I think is dangerous nowadays, because a lot of it is based on what is the most popular, especially on all these new tools.
Oh yeah.
So the new book and the new doctor, and I see that a lot. So a lot of the stuff that I see going around, I remember reading and knowing about that like 20 years ago. But now it's the new book, and the doctor now is preliminary, is everywhere, and everybody's talking about the leptin thing. Let's see, and that's been debunked, and yet it's still out there. So there's a lot of that going on, where you really have to remember that you are the expert, and if something makes you feel rejected and not enough or judged, I don't care if it's a Dalai Lama, if you feel judged and something about you feels, oh shoot, I really f up, oh, I should really be like that, I should know that, like these kind of feelings are not healthy.
No.
It's really not about that, and you may end up knowing about all that and opt out of it. So this is what I love about my ride, Lauren, because I've been humbled that way a zillion time. Even after the birth of my boy, it's been rehab time for 10 years almost. I'm just a year and a half ago started to really exercise and take walks again and all that. So, I was humbled again by realizing, oh, this type of moving and exercise is really not apropos for me anymore. This is not, whatever is happening here, this is not where I'm heading again. I did that.
Yep.
It's not going over there now. It's
Right.
another ride. It's another story. So we have to rewrite our story all the time and not judge ourselves for that. We're very organized. We have our little, whatever they're called, organization. What are they called? Where you write, I do this at 8 and this at 9 and this.
Oh,
An organizer.
yeah. You're. Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm full of gray, by the way. I'm shade of gray lady. I'm not black and white.
Yes.
Go with me. So I'm not saying get disorganized, but if it's not working out as planned, are you freaked out? It's like, what happens to you if you were like today? Everything was crazy for me today. So what happens to you? Do you get moody? Do you get cranky? Do you feel, oh, it's all messed up now? Or are you in such a flexible, peaceful place that you move with it and it doesn't create the stress hormones, that it's just what life is doing to you. It's happening, and it's doing it to billions of people on planet Earth. It's messing with our lives. It is life. Life is that.
Yes.
So life is not your organizer. Life is that stuff that happens. So if you're so hooked to your organizer that when it's off book, you have a hard time to, then there's work to be done
Yes.
at the place of the heart and at the place of the mind, so that you can flow with these disorganized days and you find them absolutely well organized according to life,
Yes.
not according to you.
I love that. So let's speak to the person that is just completely overwhelmed with all of the different things that they hear on social media, on the news, on whatever, and they realize they are not healthy at all, and they just want to start on that journey of truly tapping into their healthiest, happiest self and learning to truly love the life that they live. Where do you start with a person like that comes to you and is like, Isabelle, I need help?
Well, when I used to do one-on-one a lot more than now, it was very individual. So if I dealt with a woman who I could see was borderline depression, I would deal with that aspect first. So whatever, again, presents itself,
Right.
that's what I go for. It tells me what to go for. But in general, I agree with you. So in general, don't worry about rules, regulation, and elimination of food, or keeping food, or fasting or not fasting, intermittent fasting, however great it could be. Don't worry about that. You're confused as hell. So I agree with you. I agree with Darren in terms of drink more water, chuck all the bad drinks, all the fruity drinks, processed food, stick to whole food. Don't worry about the grains, how much carbs. Don't do that to yourself, but just go in your kitchen and get rid of everything that's processed, everything that's canned, and make it whole, real food. If you just stick to that for a year, it will change your life. And drinking lots of water, nothing else. Again, I'm not going in a story of coffee, no coffee, all
Right.
that. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, get rid of all that, drink only water. Then if I was one-on-one, I would, so just do that alone. You'd be amazed. If you just do that alone, you will lose weight, you will feel better, you will not be as cloudy in your mind, you will have more clarity. We are, as Darren explained that last week, I think, completely dehydrated.
Oh,
It's
completely.
huge.
Yep.
And the quality of water is not great, but don't worry about that right now. Just drink your water. Because we can get in a debate of water. I don't want to go into that. I just want to say, get rid of everything that is processed, everything that's packaged. Now we can go in, some packages are great, and frozen, some of them are great frozen food, but I don't want to go there yet, because it's your mind is so used. There's a pathway, by the way, in your brain that gets hooked to depression, hooked to anger, hooked to a sense of being defeated, hooked to fear, basically. There are pathways. They get very comfortable. It's like a route to go to work that you use all the time. And suddenly, if you're being derouted, you're like, oh my God, how do I go home?
Right.
It's the same thing. There's a route that gets into your brain, that you get comfortable with these depressing feelings, these fearful feelings. It gets used to it. So it will use any excuse to get back on that route. This is why I'm like, don't get into, well, there's some frozen packages that are great. Yes, but don't go there right now.
Yeah.
Just deroot yourself completely. Go all whole food. That's the beauty of when I was broke. I could only eat grains, beans, some veggies. I could only afford it. It was cheap and it was healthy.
Right.
But that's the first thing I would say, with lots of water. And I think you always say that. This is also why I like the To Be mindset on Beachbody.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
This is also why I think it's great, because she's really getting back to those basics. Most of us are enough veggies and don't drink enough water. So just doing these two things, eliminating alcohol all the way completely, huge, completely big, and then I would go into sleep. Now, again, if I have a lot of European around me, because I guess I'm from Montreal, Canada, a lot of French people, and a lot of them eat tons of vegetable. They don't have a problem with that. It's part of their culture. So then I would have a different conversation with them, right?
Absolutely.
But in America here, this is challenging for us. So those are my basic to go to, and then I would go to sleep. But when you get into sleep, it's lovely to give them, eliminate all artificial light, get rid of your phone and your TV, no EMF in your room, Keep it dark. Don't watch TV an hour before you go to sleep, and a whole bunch of other stuff. That's all true, and it's all great and helpful. But at the end of the day, when I deal with someone who cannot sleep, there's stressful thoughts in there.
Yes.
There's judgment, there's shame, there's guilt,
Mm.
mental. So
Mm.
as soon as I get into sleep, usually I get into what's up with your internal world. And that's everything.
It really is.
This
Everything
is
starts
why,
with thoughts.
you know, if you lose it because you're not going according to your organizer, this is fantastic for me. This is showing you where you're out of balance inside, right? If you're very centered and anchored, and when shit happens and you can not lean in it, but take a breath and lean away from it. So the stuff is happening over here, but you're over here.
Mm.
So you're clear and you can breathe and you can make decisions, and you learn to enjoy in a weird, messed up way, even the drama that is unfolding. Again, I'm not going into death or somebody getting a cancer, diagnosis. We're trying to stay in the middle ground here. But if you can learn to every event, whether it's traffic, whether it's somebody that always says the thing that annoys you, whether it's someone that seems to always criticize you, to me, that's it. That's life. That's all you need to do. You don't need a book. You don't need any book. If
No.
you can take that and like a cloud, let it move through, often there's nothing to do. Or if you do end up making a move, doing something about it, it's much more clear and kind and effective than if you were here in the front moving around with the craziness. Then you can't make an interesting move and an action, because you're part of the drama. That alone changes your life radically. I talk so much.
What do you think is going to change the direction? Because I'm 100% on the same page with you. But at the end of the day, the reason why I partnered with your husband's company was because his company sees eye to eye with what I believe, that the crisis of not just this country, but the health of the world it's circling down the toilet very fast. And it's so much, I mean, obviously the fake foods and all of the chemicals and toxins and all of that stuff, but it's so much more than that. Where do we start to reverse that?
Well, this is what I love about this conversation, and this is what I love about Beachbody. I have to tell you, the way I move in my life is very different than the system at Beachbody. The way I handle my personal well-being is very different, but not opposed to. And certainly, the more I lived with Carl and got involved, the more I greatly valued the Beachbody platform, because it's giving you some basic fundamental key points to hold on to, stick to, don't argue with,
Yes.
just follow the basic, and it's going to get you there.
Yes.
Me, there is constantly moving forward, right? Me, this is the basic fundamental. You need to move, you need to eat healthy, whole food, and then starts the deeper, more challenging work to me. So
Yeah.
to me, that's A, right? You got to go to Z. But I love the platform because I was not even aware. Like when I created the Daily Sunshine for Kids, and our team at Beachbody started doing the research about what's going on with kids,
Oh.
I was appalled. The story that I had heard that ketchup was the only fruit that most kids would have, or a lot of kids would have, I thought it was just an exaggeration of something.
Yeah, you
It
thought
is
it was a
not,
joke.
my dear.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Oh.
So it is real what you just said and what you talk about. And Beachbody is at the forefront of really, in a no nonsense kind of way, get you to move with the easiest way, meaning at home, push, click, do it, with a zillion different programs that you can choose what works for you, with very different ways of doing food planning. You choose what works for you, or none, or another way, but
Right.
it's there because we never pretended that just eating or just exercise was the way to go. We always bring the two together.
Yep.
And actually we try to fill the gap of people that totally did not want to start an exercise program. We were seeing people that would not enroll because they do not feel okay working out. So we came up with To Be Mindset to
Yeah.
help them step in. So Beachbody is full of steps wherever your entry point is, it has steps for you to get in there, to start having a little bit of control over what's going on in your life. I love that. And so I totally understand why you partnership with them, because it makes sense. This is why the Shakeology is what it is. This is why it's not a keto drink. It's not a paleo drink. It doesn't care what you're into. It's about whole food and the lack of healthy food on our planet, because as you and Darren have talked, and as you talk about all the time, is, the soil is depleted, the oxygen is not what it used to be, there's thousands of chemicals in the air that didn't exist X amount of time ago, like a few decades ago. The GMO thing is really doing a mess even on our organic crops.
Yeah.
So it is something that you have to be realistic about. And this is what Darren and I did with the Shakeology. So it was really about what's the most lacking in people's diets. I know Darren talked about that. I'm just brushing over it real quick. And so let's try to make it the potent daily dose of nutrition. Right. All the stuff that's so hard to get, so expensive, hard to really figure out if it is clean or not when you just buy it, because we have to test everything to know that. Right. So it's only confusing for you out there, because even some of the organic stuff we test, as you know, comes back not that great. Yep. So it's a confusing world out there. It's still doable, by the way. I'm positive. I feel good about. There's a lot of underground groups that are coming up. It's just not advertised as much, but they're out there, guys. You're not alone. It's happening. So this is what the shake was about. Let's try to at least this one thing in there, at least that, if nothing else, that would be good for them. That's it. This is why it's not concerned with the way you eat. Shakeology. We've had people, can you make it for keto? Can you? No. Shakeology is what it is. It's about the food that are most lacking in your diet. Yep. I used to call it the missing links.
Yeah, I love that. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I get is that, I eat a healthy diet, and I've always believed, even way before I knew that Beachbody was a thing, I've always believed that the trifecta of a person to be their healthiest, happiest is they have to incorporate exercise, nutrition, and supplementation, because I do believe that supplementation is part of that trifecta. Because even if you are eating whole foods, all organic, all non-GMO, you're still missing so many elements that could make you healthier and happier. And this is why I've always believed in supplementation. And I actually save a lot of money because of Shakeology, because I used to take a ton of supplements because I would spend money on the high quality ones from brands that I knew don't cut corners.
That's right. By the way, let's talk about another humbling experience for me here. So I ate super healthy. I don't get supplementation, blah, blah, blah. And I still think it's a good ground. It's a good place to be at. And yet cut to when I was trying to figure out my health, when I had to try meat to see if something would happen, and God knows everything. I started healing this 8-year rehab challenge since the birth. It started getting better. I started getting my strength when I started eating meat. And what we realized with biochemistry, I'm working with a biochemist, so God knows I'm learning a lot. Right. I was missing certain enzymes, certain chemicals, certain synapses were not happening to process the vegetarian vegan meat, vegan protein. So I could not, no matter how good my diet was, I could never get my protein to a healthy level. I was really low, and they would look at the way I ate and it'd be like, oh my God, it makes no sense.
Right.
This is why. So thank God for biochemistry. And guess what? I have to take supplements to try to bridge these missing links for me until my body can recreate it and I can process this food again. Right. But I need the help of high quality supplements that don't cut corners, which are very few, but they exist. And thank God they exist, because if I was still I'm judging everybody who takes supplements, I'd be in trouble right now. Right? So that's what I mean, guys. We've got to humble up. We've got to humble up, and especially the fact that our health is very compromised, because I work very closely with a MD homeopath, and osteopath, and I have all of these people around me that work with my people. So what we're learning is that because planet Earth is compromised, a lot of funky things are happening to us as well. Yep. So what used to be enough to help you with a problem, a challenge, at times isn't. You have to go like I did. What the heck is going on with me? Biochemistry, oh, it doesn't matter how many plates of raw green food I would eat, certain things would not process in my system. I
Right.
had to have a biochemist, specific supplementation to slowly start teaching my body, rehabilitate my body at that level. So it's incredible all that we do not know, myself included,
Myself
and that
included
we think
too.
we know. And we're very busy going out there very early on in our life, telling everybody how they're supposed to do it. And so I'm not a big fan of that anymore, having been there, having done that.
Absolutely.
So I think you have to honor your ride. Honor your ride. Don't eliminate any options except the crap. That's the only absolute truth. No matter what diet you're on, crap is crap. Coke is Coke.
Yep.
Twinkies is Twinkies. Chips is chips.
Mm-hmm.
A salty, chemically loaded food is that. It will never be good for you. I go even further. I don't do my nails. I don't put that chemicals on my fingers and then it runs into the ocean.
Right.
Uh, I'm annoyed that I'm still using regular dye. I'm looking for a natural dye. I'm like, hey, ma, if I'm going to talk about this shit, I better get on it.
Yep.
So, everything that you use for your house, your makeup, we mostly put chemicals on our faces every day, and it makes us feel good. But guess what? It's not good what happens inside, because makeup is one of the most highly toxic place you can go to. Some chemicals that are banned in your food are allowed in your makeup. So
Mm-hmm.
it's no joke, makeup world.
And our
Same
skin
thing
is
with
our largest
perfume.
organ that absorbs
Yes.
everything we put on it.
And the perfume, same deal.
I actually, I one of my favorite things, because I do lots of stuff on my Insta stories. One of my, I like to share, because I feel like the more people get this knowledge, the more likely they are finally going to get it and start looking at ingredients and literally, just this morning, I had to go to the grocery store real fast. And I'm constantly trying to teach people, look, do not be fooled by the labels. There was a bag of sweet potato chips that looked like it was from a whole, an earth, it looks like it's going to be healthy. It has all of the non-GMO, the blah, blah, blah. And then you turn it over and the second ingredient is canola oil.
Yes.
And like, we are fooled by all of this fake food.
That's right.
And it's not just food, it's ingredients in our makeup. It's everything.
Oh, by the way, Lauren, they do natural nail stuff.
Yes. My
lines of nails, so you can still have your nails done, but without putting those chemicals in your body.
I'm still trying to find a mascara that is natural, that is not full of, I found one brand, but it gets into my contacts, and my contacts don't last very long. But it is. Have I tried what?
Blink.
No.
BLINC.
No, I haven't.
Try it. Maybe it will work.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, it's tricky and it's hard, and that's a challenge with makeup and natural.
Yes.
It's hard to replicate what the chemicals can do.
It really is. It really
you can
is.
just look at my Facebook page and you'll see how it doesn't work sometimes.
I love it. I love it.
I gave up too. I was like, okay, I'm just going no makeup.
Right.
Yeah.
Girl, you look good without any makeup in your hair. Just
well, you know what I mean. There's a difference.
Absolutely.
And hands down, real makeup. It works well. I get it.
It does.
It's not annoying, frustrating, and all that. That's for sure.
For sure.
And you all choose. If I was going to say that to an actor who's got to look great, and
it'd be an option.
They'd be like, sorry, buddy.
Exactly.
Put that on my face, whether you like it or not. And I totally get it. I would have to say, I get it.
All right. Well, and that's one thing that I do love about the tools that Beachbody gives a person like me, because the way I see it as a coach, I just use all of the tools that life has given me. And so now that I've partnered with a company that has the same standards and the same beliefs that I have more tools to help other people.
That's right.
I always let them know that, look, there's no one perfect diet nutrition plan. And we start here, but you might see how I eat and see it's extreme and run the other way if you don't know that there's other options, and let's try this. And ultimately it's everyone's biochemistry is different, right?
Different. Yeah. And that is, again, I love that about the Beachbody platform, is that the fact that it allows a lot of women that are at home with 2-3 kids, it allows them to have revenue to participate in helping in the family in that way, while they're helping themselves feel better, have a better self-worth, be around their kids, be present. Sorry, I'm looking at you again. Be present for your kids. Be there when they come back from school, pick them up. Everything about that platform to me is absolutely beautiful.
It
It doesn't have to be for everybody, that's for sure. But there's so many choices on how you can use it and to what level.
Yep.
You don't have to be a diamond coach.
No.
You can just use it to whatever level it helps you.
Yep.
And I really love that. And having people like you, Lauren, participating and being involved with us is really a fantastic thing. It's bringing all of us together. I love that.
Well, it allows me, because once I started, because as you know, we are not taught any nutrition in traditional Western medicine. And in medical school, literally, I think our nutrition was maybe an hour-long lecture, and we talked about proteins, carbohydrates, and, like the major macronutrients, and that's it. Yeah, exactly. And it's sad because once I started to continue my education and knowledge learning, I started to realize that what I, as a Western medicine doctor, had to, by standard of care, advise a patient goes against what I believe. So for the example, if someone comes in and tells me they have high cholesterol, as a physician, I'm supposed to, standard of care, get them started on a statin and tell them a low-fat diet. And I don't believe in that.
God, no.
No. And so this platform allows me to really make a difference and change people's lives in a way that has a way more impact than just getting on prescription drug after prescription drug after prescription drug and putting Band-Aids over a problem that's way deeper than a Band-Aid can ever fix.
That's right. And that brings me to something I wanted to discuss too, which is with those podcasts are so fantastic for that too.
Right. I know.
It really is. I love that we can just go all over the place.
I know. I was excited about this interview.
Wait, are you people going, because I can't see anything, are they going crazy? Are they lost? Am I talking?
I would have to pull
Robert,
up.
am I talking too much?
No, you're not talking too much at all. Are you kidding me? No, I was excited about this interview. Yeah.
Robert says thumbs up or is politically correct. I'm not sure.
Robert says that we're good.
Because I wanted to talk about that. Remember, all these self-help books that we are ravaging, going crazy, one after the next and the next. And guys, I've done that too. They're fantastic. It's great. I've learned from all of them. I love it. But one thing I want to bring up is sometimes if you pick one book that really speaks to you and you choose one thing in that book, just one thing, but you actually live that every day of your life. You just apply that concept, whatever that is, for real, all the time, every day. The moment you wake up until you go to sleep, it will change your life. So I think there's a thing to have an awareness is to not be in love with the reading books after books after books after books, but at the end of the day, you're not really bringing it home. Because if it stays here and you're a great speaker and you can speak all that stuff, but in your personal life, if you're off calendar and you didn't do the thing at 8 o'clock that you were supposed to do, and your mind goes, something's up with you. So these books are fantastic, but very often I feel we are busy moving through them as opposed to really applying one thing. So I think about a lot of the books that deal with compassion and kindness and forgiveness, right? If you just take forgiveness and you really apply what that means, first, forgiving yourself. Second, trying to understand, is there a reason to feel like we have to forgive? Like, is there something really drastically wrong in what has happened that I need their forgiveness, or I need to give them my forgiveness? Like, forgiveness itself is profound. So we read these beautiful books and, oh yes, it's great, and it makes you cry and you have epiphany. And then you go back to your life and you're pissed at your husband because he didn't blah, 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 blah. So, it's like, pick one book, man. One book a year, and apply one thing for real. No bull, for real. You'll see your life transform. It's the same thing with water and whole food. You'll see your life transform. So I think right now we're very in love with this sort of, never enough. The next book, the next theory, the next bullet point, do A, B, C, D. And we still love to be told what to do. And And as long as you need someone to tell you what to do, you are not in touch. I don't care how great the book is. You're not in touch with what you need to do, what you know what to do for yourself, which may not look nothing like the book or like the person that you idolize. So
as you know, personal development is one of our daily vital behaviors as coaches that we're supposed to do. And one of the things that kills me is that I see, coaches on my team that they're doing personal development. They've told me how many books they've read, and yet they haven't applied any of that shit to their lives.
It's hard, Lauren,
Oh,
really applying that stuff, really doing forgiveness, let's say.
yeah.
Doing that, the hardest, by the way, for me anyway, and I think many of us, is ourselves.
Yeah.
But applying one principle like that, they're profound principle, applying that for real toward your kids, toward yourself, toward your mother, toward the people that hurt you, toward a lot of us dealt with incest, toward incest, like applying this vital forgiveness, compassion, kindness, all these principles this is not toyland.
Yeah.
So you can read 10 books about forgiveness and be very entertained, but to really apply it all the way through until you feel free of that need to attack others and make them guilty of something, including the guy who's cutting in front of you, and yourself, with all the self-flagellating that you do. That alone you could spend years just working on that, and you would profoundly transform. That's a lot harder than being very proud because you've had 10 books in 1 month that told you all about forgiveness. Yes. Right?
Yep. No, I actually I made an Instagram post a couple of days ago. I took a bunch of my coaches that earned a trip. We all went to Mexico, and it was a beautiful sunset. And I was taking a picture of one of the coaches at sunset, and everything about the picture was gorgeous. And when I handed her the phone, the first thing she said was, "Oh, look at my arms." And I looked at her and I'm like, "Girl,
oh, wow.
You have got to," because she's a mom. She's got a son and a daughter. And I was like, if someone said that to your daughter, you'd want to smash them in the face. They're bullying. So why are you bullying yourself? Like this, learning how to really, truly love yourself, I feel like is probably one of the hardest things for people to do.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And, Lauren, if you go deep into that, if we go deep into our self-talk, which are lovely people, Baron Katie, Eckhart Tolle, Michael Singer, these are all amazing people that really go deep into that very aspect of our beingness, and how if you do not dive into that at all, real freedom and real health is elusive.
Yeah.
If you need your diet to be perfect, if you need your outfits when you work out to be perfect, if you need your hair to be perfect, if you freak out if you miss a workout, if you freak out if you go somewhere and suddenly you don't have all your tools to do the perfect diet that you're used to that makes you feel in control.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
Not that any of that is wrong, not at all, but utilizing it with joy, needing it out of fear, because without it, you lose control and you can't simply can't show up somewhere and understand what your body requires or what feels right, what feels wrong. This is where I did all sorts of things. Oh my God, I did all sorts of diets. And there was something back in my days was called the melon, eat them alone or leave them alone. It was a big thing. You never eat melon with anything. I did that for decades, right? Cut to, I have a son who eats anything, everything together. It's a big mess. Our kids are great for that.
Yes.
And I was looking at him thinking, what happened? He's digesting just fine. No flatulence, nice food. He's doing just great, mixing it all up, right? So I had the fucking melon with the rest of the food, and my body did just fine. And it was just like a bing. It was just like, oh my God, we are so hijacked by rules and regulation and experts. We lose touch with our bodies. Does that mean someone else may not react and not be able to eat the melon with something else? Of course, that's very possible as well. But I was out of touch between the principle in my head and the truth in my body. And I think to bridge that is the big key. We're very busy with principle in our heads, and our bodies are doing the best they can because we don't realize with principle, we objectify the body. Yeah. We are constantly upset that other people objectify us, but we are constantly objectifying our bodies. And it starts with that. It starts with, this is alive. This body is you.
Right.
It's the temple of your soul.
Yep.
It is you. Me, I
It's the
summarize
only one that
everything.
you'll get.
That's right. Well, yes, in this life, if you believe in, I
Right.
don't eliminate
Right.
people that believe in lifetimes. It doesn't matter. Right now, that's the one you win.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. So it's alive. When you go deep in the biochemistry in what the body is, you really get that it's alive. It's autonomous. It thinks on its own. They found out cells in the heart, in the middle of the heart, that act independently of all the rest of your body, like a little alone entity, which the masters have been talking about, the triple flame, forever, but we didn't know about it. We're baffled by it. Why? What is that?
Right.
Same thing with the biome, right? We're shocked to see how independent it is and what it does. We know nothing. We're just starting. So the beauty of that is, if you really understand that this body is not a body to decide if you're freaked out about your little hanging tricep, the pimples, or what it should look like. If you understand that it is you, it is you. It's not body mind. It's all one thing. It's you, right?
Yep.
It feels what you feel. It thinks because it will feel your thoughts.
Yep.
It is you. So if you really get deep into that, that is, so when you look at your body and you put on a pair of pants and you say something negative, you just slap yourself.
Yep.
And your body gets slapped 1,000 times a day. And then you say, I wonder why I have an indigestion. I wonder why I don't feel so good. Why this? The first place to look at is, how do you treat you, which is the illusion of this body, which this body is just it just shows you in so many ways. So it's fascinating if you go deep in that, because then it's impossible to objectify yourself. Once you go into that and you really get it, you start really falling in love with your body. You start really being grateful, not just for a great post, show your cellulite and see, but really deeply loving it so much that you don't even need to put that post up, because that way of thinking of objectifying yourself is disappeared. So that's a good step in the right direction, right? We need to see our imperfection, because we're so busy saying perfect people, and our actors are 50 and they look younger than when they were 20. So it's very confusing to accept yourself when nobody's growing old.
Right.
So you're right. So it's a step in the right direction, but we can't, just like the Beachbody platform, we never stop, right? At some point, all that becomes what your body is you. And your relationship changes so much, then you start paying attention to what you is saying. So some morning I get up, excuse me, people think if I have fruits in the morning, it's going to be the end of my blood sugar. And some morning, if I feel that I really need blueberries, let's say,
Right.
I think I'm supposed to have protein first. I swear to you, if I force myself to eat protein, I'm not processing it right. If I have my blueberries, I don't have any spike. I'm mellow. And not long after, oops, okay, time for this. And I move on to protein or whatever. But over time, I have learned to just pay attention. Now, it was a learning curve. So, of course, my body is not telling me you need a Twinkie and a Coke, right?
No,
But you have to
definitely
make
not.
a difference. That's not your body. That's your low self-worth.
Right.
I'm not worthy. That's what's talking to you when you want these things.
Right.
But for the longest time, when I had funky cravings, I would go for the healthy version of it. So you want Twinkies, go for fruits, right? Go for yogurt with stevia. Go for things that makes you feel like you're having sugar, but it's not really the bad thing that you desire. But anyway, I wanted to talk about that because we're busy. We're so out. We're looking out so much.
Right.
That book over there and that expert, and oh, that's the new problem now. And as long as I do that, I'm going to be okay. And that may work for you, but it's out there.
So let me ask you this. What do you, because I truly believe that we're not going to reverse the crisis, the health crisis in our world, without people like you and me and coaches in the network. But so I feel like so many coaches are losing sight of the ability to be able to do that. What would you advise for someone, whether they're a Beachbody coach or just someone that has the same calling, that they truly want to help this crisis and bear arms together? Where do they start?
To do what? You mean the food thing, water, vegetable?
Yeah, like where do they start really helping people? Is it getting with their food, or is it teaching them how to love themselves? Like where do you start? Like what do you see? Let me maybe rephrase it. What do you see coaches in the network the biggest mistake that they're doing? Because in theory, if you are a coach, you have the same belief, right? That we are trying to help reverse the health crisis of the world with teaching them the habits of learning to take care of their body and their mind and their spirit by exercise, nutrition, and supplementation. So what do you think is the biggest mistake that coaches are making?
Well, I can't go into biggest mistake. I don't know enough, but okay, if they're coaches, Lauren, they're already helping people, right?
Right.
They've already started to help themselves as well.
Right.
Um, so I have to be
I know.
so careful here.
Yes.
And it's definitely not mistake. This does not even come across my mind. Okay, let me be honest here. I'm not good with easy, fluffy one answer that or
Right. No.
post, but I'm not good at that.
That's why I was looking forward to this interview.
Oh, well, thank you. So we've established. Okay, I always go to oneself.
Yes.
Let me just express what happened to the people I'm with and myself.
Okay.
Once I really started focusing on me,
Yeah.
there's somebody who says, oh, it's Baron Kitty. It's God's business, my business, and other people's business, right?
Yes.
I stay in my business. When I really pay attention to me, how I speak to people, my water, my veggies, my fruit, my whole food, my daily dose of, for me, my daily dose of dance nutrition with Shakeology, my walk or my exercise, whatever program. If I really focus, then when I add the being kind, be kind to myself, be kind to others, whatever you focus on, whether it's kind, I'm not sure what the coaches are in right now, but if you don't go in, you can't really change and go out. It will only last so long. It's only once you really go in that this question does not even come to be. And what I mean by that is you're busy. My God, I always have some kind of complaint in my head. So every time I'm complaining in my head, I will stop and say, not now. I'll just complain in my head, stop, not now. Stop, not now. A million times I'll say it out loud. I'll just stop that, right? So they do their water, their whole food, their exercise, and stop, not now. That's the only one thing that they chose.
Right.
It's huge, right?
Yeah.
What I've witnessed with the people I work with and with myself
Yep.
is that when you really honestly start doing that, and when you do that, you don't think about your likes and you post, and you're not focused out.
Yes.
The main concern is, for me, how do I feel? So that person complain, not now, not now. In one post I share, Eckhart Tolle talked about saying, when something happens and normally you would complain and you don't like, you say, thank you, I have no complaints whatsoever. So I said that, oh my God, that changed so much, right? So you pick one thing, you focus on that. Now, my experience of that is life will bring you exactly how to go out. If you get to a place where this is real for you, all these things, the events presents themselves to you. This is why I don't really have an organizer whatsoever. Some stuff for time to keep track. I like flexibility, fluidity. Life brings me things, and sometimes it brings me nothing for months. And instead of freaking out, I've noticed that I actually happen to be tired. And my son actually happened to need a lot of my emotional attention at that point. Somehow life gave me a break just in time to show up for my son, on and on. So when I do the basic and I focus on that one thing, whatever that is for you, and I really want that. I do not want to complain about everything. I do not want to have a problem with everybody. And I focus on that, not now. You can do the I'm leaning away from that. I'm not leaning into it, right? To me, life will then present opportunities.
Mm,
People will come, an email will come, an advertisement will come, an opportunity will come. It comes. Life is good. It does bring you what you need. A lot of people with the Beachbody platform, that's how it happened too. They
right.
really were committed to something, and suddenly they got an awareness of the Beachbody platform. It resonated with them, and they went in. So to me, I don't have a how to, except stick to the most basic principle and don't be so out there focused. The out there happens anyway.
Yeah.
So you do your water, you do your food, you do your walk, whatever workout program, and then you have your one thing. I'm not going to get angry about this. I'm not going to complain about this. I'm not going to attack people when I'm upset or when I get challenged.
Right.
Whatever the thing is, I'm not going to elevate my voice really loud whenever I'm, you know, frustrated about something. Whatever one little thing, you just change that. You'll be shocked how the world changes because you're not responding in that groove I was talking to you
Right.
about. You respond in a certain way. It's the groove that you're used to, and life is in there. And life comes back to you with the same response of what you say that, and life does that. And I complain about this, and life brings you more things to complain about. And on it goes. So to me, if you honestly do something real internally, these moments in life happens without you having to figure out
Right.
how to do ABC. And of course, I'm talking the opposite of what's number one bestseller books everywhere. How to get your perfect life, how to get your perfect love, how to make $1 million in 1 year,
Hmm.
10 bullet points of how to blah, blah, blah. Again, I'm in the shade of gray.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying these are not wonderful, but maybe you can have them and at the same time lean away, meaning relax,
Hmm.
step back, take a breath.
Well, I'm going to steal your stop, not now, because that's so simple. 3 words, but that conversation that is had multiple times in your head, that needs to be had multiple times in your head, really can be game changing.
If we listen to what we say to ourselves and we pretend that we say it to someone else, it would stop right there.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely,
terrible, terrible what we
absolutely.
say. So if you pick just one thing like that, you're going to change your life. So concretely, it's the thing that we all talk about, and Beachbody mastered that. I think we mastered the basic fundamental. We have great people helping you stick to this basic fundamental. You're one of them, um, and then this party time of all these self awareness book. I say digest it a little longer, masticate it a little longer, really let it settle in your tummy a little longer, apply one or two principle a little longer, and the how to becomes almost not necessary. It just happens. It really does, but you won't know it, and your mind will be very busy criticizing it. And I've been through this before when I go to platform where it's all about people telling me, oh, it's easy for me to say. They have no clue what my life is about. They're just busy holding on to their how to,
Mhm.
thinking that I'm saying you have to throw that away. And what I'm saying is change, morph the way you live the how to.
Mm,
Your perception of the how to is the challenge, not the how to. Money is fantastic. The perception of money can fill you with guilt and shame, not the
yes.
money itself. The Twinkies, nothing wrong with this poor little thing who's just doesn't even know how it got there, right?
Right.
It's your perception that this is how you're gonna soothe your emotional
Mm,
fear is what makes it so difficult to not be tempted by. It's your perception of it. So we switch our perception, nothing is a problem. It's just there. And then this is really being in charge. Having rules and regulation gives you the illusion of being in charge. Um, you know, and at the end of the day, if you take that away, the person is lost. If I say to, and I've done that with myself, and it's fun. If I say to people, what's the thing that you love the most about yourself, that makes you feel the most good, right? And
yeah.
I say, hide that for the next 2 months. So if you feel very good showing off your legs or your ass or your boobs or your shoulders, whatever that is, and I say to you, wear sweatpants. I do not want you to expose your legs and do all your things, but don't show off that body part that makes you feel so good about yourself. And when you walk around, you're checking everybody has his legs. And if your legs are the best, you feel pretty good about it and you like them.
Yeah.
If their legs are better than yours, you might be a little trigger there. Hello, internal work there. But, you just do that and people are out of control. I've done that experiment with people. It's scary what happens internally. And then I said, your little list of to-do list will not help you with the sense of completely out of control that just happened because you can't dress showing off those legs. You can't make yourself give you an artificial sense of self-worth because you can't expose these legs. Like so much get, and you're like, who am I? Oh, there was so much in exposing these legs. So does it mean that you can't expose your legs because they're hot? Not at all. You should have fun showing off your legs. But if you need them to feel good and feel better than others, then there's emotional work and psychological work to be done because it's an illusion of self-worth. It is not real. This is why no matter how hot your body looks, if you don't do deep self-work to figure out what happened that I self-destroyed, what happened that my love for self is so gone that I end up destroying the body that carries me until the day I die. If you don't get there, it's a quick fix. I don't care how long, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Eventually, the patterns that got you to not have a healthy body will show up somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I
so
think
much of that comes to our childhood, though. So, and
society.
Definitely society, but I think of your son, how lucky he is to have parents that are so in tuned with these kind of mindful things to teach them what would you advise to parents out there? Because obviously you can't control society and social media and whatnot, but you definitely have an element of control while they're under your roof.
Or element of being very at peace with no control. So to me, I don't treat my kid any different than an adult. The language might be different, but my behavior is quite the same. So like right now, we're working very hard on not needing, right now is the time is 11, fitting in with a group, being like everybody else, and he's not like everybody else. So showing him the difference between him having a self-worth from getting that accolade, him, how do you feel with this thought that, if this person doesn't like me, I'm a mess. How would you feel if you didn't have that thought, right?
Right.
If it didn't bother you whether she thinks you're a mess or like okay or not okay. So I do the same kind of hardcore work because I think if we do it early, it's much easier for them. But early on, it was read all the ingredients. I talked to him early on about gym when I know I didn't see that much of your stuff, Lauren, but you do talk about that.
Oh yeah.
So I discuss everything with my boy, everything, and we talk about it. And what I love about what's happening, which I wasn't sure was happening, is that because I allowed him to emote and feel without assuming that I know when he's supposed to be angry, when I know when it's not worth being sad or when it's worth being sad based on my conditioning, when I'm slowly learning that even though it would make no sense to me for him to have a fit about that, let me investigate. Let me talk to him. Why is it that thing bothered you so much? Because I don't understand. I really want to understand. And it was amazing to see how many times it didn't make it the most, healthy choice, whatever reaction he was going through. But it did show me that he had a good reason, that I actually got it. And most of their reason, kids, is not here. It's in their hearts. Right. And the heart was challenged. And, I'm like, oh my God, he's very aware that people are rarely honest. They say certain things, but they feel a certain way. So he's picking up on that discrepancy and it frustrates the crap out of him and he doesn't know what to think. I didn't realize it was so tuned in. So I had to sit down and say, you know what? It's true. White lies all the time. People hardly ever really say the truth. Well, in some ways it'd be a mayhem. In some ways we haven't learned kind communication yet. Most of us are so full of fear and defensiveness that we attack. Yeah. So we have a way to go here, but you're right. These emotions are accurate, but What are you going to do? Sit there and be frustrated and angry and we feel weird? What are we going to do about it?
Right.
So I really go deep into what that individual, that little guy is feeling, why. I don't assume I'm right. I express my thoughts and we discuss it and he makes up his own mind, which means that now there are things that he believes that are very different than mine. But guess what? He reads the ingredients of everything he buys.
I love
He
that.
Googles, if he doesn't see non-GMO, but he sees all the other thing, he Googles, asks, is that, and that means no GMO. And they're like, Mama, they're lying. They're putting that because it makes it look like it's non-GMO, but look, it's not. So explain everything to your kid. Do not underestimate the amazing ability they have to learn beyond you, especially if you start young and they're not faced with parents thinking they know it all.
Yes.
There's a woman that's on the market right now that really, I think she calls it conscious parenting,
Yeah.
which is changing the dichotomy of we always think we know better.
Right.
And it doesn't mean you don't have some kind of boundaries and, you know, some things are not okay to do, but there's a constant conversation and an ability to know that you can learn from that you might be wrong. Sometimes I say no about something and he insists and I say no and I'm like, why are you insisting? And he'll say, it doesn't make sense. And then he explains to me what doesn't make sense. Then I explain to him what does. And guess what? He does exactly what I'm asking him because something was not working in his brain. Something didn't make sense.
Right.
Also, when they go crazy, our reaction to that is huge. So if they go nuts and have an explosion, if you freak out, that's huge. If you can do that thing I talked about earlier, you take a deep breath, you sit back, and then you say, how did that feel? I do that with Danny now. I was late getting onto that game, but I do that. And I was like, how did that feel? Did that feel good?
Yeah.
No, it really feels yucky. I don't like. And do you think there'd be another way to figure this out without you having to do that? Because it doesn't feel good, even me watching it. And so you react differently. It's not a knee-jerk reaction, it's a response. And they learn to respond to life. They learn to sit back and be able to not be afraid of anger, of jealousy, of low self-worth, because they have it very young. That starts young, as you just said. So they learn to be able to access these emotions without the fear of accessing them. So if you're not afraid to really sit with that and not be fearful of it and not think that you're supposed to do something about a situation, because in the bestseller book, blah, 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 they told you that you can and da-da, da-da. If you can just sit there, my boy, my girl, they're not the book.
Yeah.
Here they are in front of me. That's my life. Let me be at peace with this crazy scream. Let me just watch that, right? Let me just sit with that. And then at the end, sometimes I'll say, because Danny has a lot of anger, I'll say, wow, that didn't feel good to me at all. Can I just take a breath here? Because how?
Yeah.
They react to that. They love you. And it makes them not have shame. It's so easy to give to kids the shame. It makes them say, oh, wow, yeah, that didn't, oh, sometimes he comes and hugs me and I'm like, all right, I'm better now. Can we like talk about this? You know, but if he does it 2-3 times, then of course I say, hey, we've had 2-3 discussions. You get that point. You're pushing the boundaries now. Not okay.
No.
You know? So people like to make you cartoons, right? You talk about these things I just talked, and then they make you the person who will let them jump off a bridge if they want to. That's not what it is. But when you say, what do they do with their kids? I don't do anything different with my kids than I would do with myself. So when I feel shame, when I cry, when I'm scared, when I'm jealous, when I'm, you know, confused as heck, I want that compassion to myself. I want to be able to and observe what's happening to me. And this is also how I deal with eating disorder a lot, unless it's really intense and I need a doctor to be present. But very often I can really help people by being with them and showing them that it's very safe to sit with their emotions. It's safe to sit with your shame. It's safe to sit with your fear. It's safe to sit with your guilt. You can literally sit down and feel it, waves and waves, and you're going to feel these feelings that you're hiding by going exercise maybe, or having your Twinkie or your chips, or going to see your movies, or being very super busy. So there's no time in your day where you have to sit with your shame. So every time you sit with these feelings and you don't do anything, you don't treat yourself like you're a thing to fix. Because what I'm watching is we need to be fixed. Everything is wrong about us. It's constant how to fix yourself.
Yep.
That's exhausting.
It is.
And so sitting with yourself without thinking you need to fix it. Don't pick up that book. You don't need to fix it. If you just sit with it at times and you observe what it's like to move to these scary feelings and not act out on anything. Don't bring judgment, don't bring solutions, nothing. Just sit it. And it's waves and it waves and it passes. And if you really do that, I swear to you, underneath it is this amazing peace and joy that swells up in you that you cry, because some kind of freedom. Because if you fix it out of the mental place, out of the place that makes you feel, it's the mental that makes you feel shame, guilt,
absolutely
incoherent, right? So if you try to fix from that place, it's just a band-aid. But if you take that away and you just sit in it's like your heart is, morphing it into something else. It's the power of the heart, your heart for yourself. And you morph it. Once you live that, it transforms you. And then if you can stop yourself from thinking you need to write a book about it and just leave it a little longer so that you're not busy getting your likes.
Yes.
And if you can leave this moment very privately by yourself alone, that alone will transform your life. You won't need a plan on what to do next. You will be filled. Once you transform, you're filled with creativity. That's the place of creativity. You're filled with things that you want to do, and you don't have the guilt and the shame that makes you think that you can't. And then you don't try to do positive thinking to try to think that you can, when your entire beingness underneath your consciousness thinks that you cannot.
Right.
You're not working at the surface. You're going deeper, and you're letting that come, and it will go, and you'll feel freedom, and then some other shame feeling will come and thoughts associated to it, and you sit, and it goes, and you feel free, and then you feel freer and freer. That's health. That's the crock of everything. And then you add to that your water, your veggies, your healthy fruits, your walking or exercise plan. Before you know it, you're full of passion and you're full of desire to go out there, and you know that, and it just happens. You'll be contagious. Anger is contagious, so is joy.
Yep. I think what we titled this interview, health, the deeper levels of it. It starts off. I envision you getting into a body of water, and the first steps are the surfacey stuff, the water, the veggies, but going deep and getting your scuba gear on and going deep. Man, it has everything to do with what right here and right here, and that takes a lot of work. But
then not, Lauren.
But it's not overcomplicated.
Well, what I just said, right, is that complicated, and most people won't do it.
Right. That's the
but
problem.
It works like magic.
It does. And if they can just take a moment to just stop and just be and really just look within and start there. That's where it starts.
It's a cliche, right? But if
it
you
is.
Do it.
But it's true though.
It's not a cliche anymore. Then it's your life. Then you're gaining your life back.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's no desire to go and criticize someone, whatever, online. Then the person who made you feel like shit at work, suddenly she doesn't make you feel like shit. She's just herself. She's just being herself. And all these things slowly happens in your life where there's no need to fix it, a plan. It's like these things just go away, and then you're busy living your life, and your life happens to you in a unpredictable way, which is fantastic.
It is fantastic. It is fantastic. The moment that I stopped trying to have control, because control, it's an illusion, and stopped having to live by what I considered a perfect life, and just really dug deep, that was when those feelings of elation, because it's freedom, honestly. It's a freeing feeling. And when I was really trying to pinpoint what my brand is, honestly, I just want people to love this life that they live. And
Yes.
and yes, part of that means the daily drinking water and feeding your body with good fuel, but
Very important.
it's so much more than that.
It
And
is.
it just makes me sad how many people go through life completely without ever loving it.
Yeah.
That's what
Again,
makes me sad.
yes, yes, and we can pretend to love it. We're very good at that.
Yes.
We pretend to work out for our health, but really we're dying to be in size 2.
Yep.
So then you still have low self-worth. You just look good at having low self-worth.
Right.
That's the difference.
Yep.
And that's what I love about our platform is that it's all available.
Yep.
It's all there because you can't be sick and think about all these principles, right?
Right.
You first have to just deal with these basic needs and be above water a little bit. And I love all that we offer. I really, really do. And the fact that people gather up by themselves and create groups and podcasts and support each other, and mothers have so much to bring to the world and have been pushed down so much. I love the fact that we can bring them up. They're 60+% of our Beachbody community. They learn so much through just being mothers. It's beautiful what the gift they have, and they don't have to go to an office now and not utilize these gifts.
Yep.
They can do this. They can help others with all the gifts that they've accumulated with 3 kids, 2 part-time job, a husband, a house. And there's so much gold there, and we allow them to do something with it. It's fantastic.
Yep.
So that we start viewing our worth on all levels, from doctor to janitors.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Absolutely.
That hierarchy on
Yep.
what you do. And it's another thing that one day maybe you'll talk about with someone else.
Yes.
About how tricky it is that we seem to value people that look good better. So a person that looks sexy will get all the people to listen to what she has to say, and someone that doesn't look quite as sexy will have a hard time getting the views.
Mhm.
And so it goes, right? That's another level of our society.
Or wearing a Dr. White coat. I mean, I don't have to wear that, but it does. And if that is what it takes to get people to open their minds to listen to what I have to say. But it's sad because I'm the same with this white jacket off. In fact, I would prefer not to wear the white jacket, but
it is bridging 2 worlds in one person, which is really lovely.
It is.
Yeah.
So I would love to have you back in the future, if you don't mind, because I have a feeling that you and I could talk about so many different things.
I'm shocked. I was like, oh my God, I babbled so much.
No, but I love it because we started, we really didn't have a plan of where we were going. I knew that we wanted to talk about the deeper levels of health, but I loved all of the different places that we went, but there's so many other places that you specifically could go that I want to touch on in the future. So I would love to have you back in the future, if you wouldn't mind.
Let me know.
Yay.
Let me know. Maybe we can go each point. We can really go in there.
Yes, I would love that. So for the people.
Wait. I love what you do. Thank you for this podcast.
Oh,
it's
thank
really
you.
Fun. I now that you've been and I liked you, I can see you more, and,
Yes.
and it's lovely. It's really great. So well done, and thank you for all that you provide for us all.
Well, thank you. I am forever indebted to you and your husband, because what you guys do has changed not just my life, but millions of people's lives. And I truly believe to the depths of my soul that we can reverse this terrible direction that we're going.
And we are.
We are.
Oh, shoot. We forgot to talk about Daily Sunshine and my purpose behind it. Some of the time.
Okay, then the next time, because I do have a lot of questions about Daily Sunshine. So let's have a rain check, and when you come back, we'll talk about that, because I also want to talk about you work with autistic kids a lot, and so I would love to talk about that, because that is one thing that I think there's so much fear and so much misunderstanding and loss of hope, and I definitely want to give parents that have kids on the spectrum some hope and some tools that they can use.
Yes.
So
There's a woman that I can actually talk about and refer to that's very helpful for autistic kids. Wonderful, Susie Miller. We can talk about her and what she does if we connect on that.
Perfect. I would love to, or it would be cool to get a 3-way conversation going on an interview.
That could be. I could ask her whenever you're ready, or if you're ready for that. I'll connect her and I'll see if she could.
I would love that. I would love that because I get questions all the time in my inbox about their kids with autism, and I definitely that excites me to think about the upcoming interview because that would be amazing.
Well, if they're in trouble right now, please talk to them about Daily Sunshine, because I've had hundreds and hundreds of mothers sending me pictures, and it helps them so much. So let's not wait for me to explain it. If you feel good about it, you can contact me. We can talk, and I can answer all your questions so that you can refer them, because that makes me so happy when that happens.
I would love that. So people that don't already follow you, where can they find you and follow you on social media?
You know what? I don't even know the name. I think it's Isabelle Daikeler / something Facebook. Oh my God.
I love it. Well, we will have Robert type in. Yeah, Robert will type in the Facebook comments your like page. Yes, it's / Isabelle Daikeler on Facebook.
Isabelle Daikeler / something. It's the one that Facebook gave me. Yes. I just never changed it.
I love it. But that's where they can find you. That's actually how I contacted you. I asked Melissa McAllister. So, Melissa McAllister, I asked her and she was like, I don't have her phone number. So I think you're going to have to try Facebook. So,
oh my God, that's hysterical.
I know.
Oh my God. I know. You see how I suck at that?
I love it. But I appreciate you so much. I appreciate your husband so much. I appreciate how you truly both have a heart to help other people. And I thank you for your time, giving your time, especially on a crazy day like this with everything that's going on.
Perfect.
Perfect. It is perfect. So thank you guys so much for listening to this.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And
send me the link of this. That way, if people ask questions and need help with something, and maybe I can guide them somewhere.
I will, for sure. And we end every episode reminding them of what we've talked about throughout this entire podcast, that you deserve to love the life you live. So act now and start learning how to do that. So we will see you next time on the FITz and Healthy podcast. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye. I appreciate your time listening so much. If you enjoyed this episode of the FITz and Healthy podcast, can you please go do me a favor and go subscribe at whatever platform that it is that you listen to podcasts. Leave a review. We read every single review, and we appreciate the time that you take to leave your thoughts and opinions. Now, also remember, while I am a medical doctor, the information I provide here is not intended to provide medical advice or professional diagnosis, opinion, treatment, or services to you or to any other individual. I am providing general information for educational and informational purposes only, and it is not a substitute for medical or professional care. You should not use this information in place of a visit, call, consultation, or the advice of your physician or other healthcare provider. The information I share is not intended to treat, cure, or diagnose any disease or medical condition. If you believe you have a medical emergency, just call 911 immediately or your physician. Now, enough of that medical legal jargon. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I appreciate your time. Now go live a FITz and healthy life.